somehow Daniel Jones got worse. 28-6, and Daniel Jones looked horrible against a defense rated sort of middle of the back. His stat line for this game was, I don't even want to read it. Yeah, he was great. It's 208 yards, or I have this backwards. 52.3% completion percentage, 186 yards passing, no touchdowns, 2 picks, a passer rating of 44.3 in the 28-6 loss to the Minnesota Vikings. While Sam Darnold, I think he completed 12 or 13 straight passes against a Giants defense that had Brian Burns in the offseason and should have looked much better. At least that's what me and you were grilled on all offseason when debating and discussing the New York Football Giants. I want to know. And by the way, Brian Daboll said that he's going to start again in week 2. Do you think the Giants are making the right or wrong decision in letting Daniel Jones start another week for the New York Giants?
I'll answer that in a second. I would say the stat line, the headline in this game is Minnesota crushes Giants 28-6. Another opening day loss, terrible for the Giants last year. Same deal. Dallas killed them. Now Minnesota comes in 28-6. Giants couldn't even score one touchdown, a couple of field goals. That's the best they could do. Daniel Jones, terrible. QBR 16.6. Darnold looked like the world beater, 81.0 quarterback rating, but that's only because the Giants' expensive star-studded D-line couldn't pressure him. He completed the first 12 passes, didn't miss one of them. And Burns and Thibodeau were invisible off the edge. They didn't show up. Burns had 4 tackles, no quarterback hits. Thibodeau, no tackles, 1 quarterback hit for the whole game. And his brilliant face mask penalty on 3rd and 16, extending Minnesota's first drive in the second half, led to a touchdown that put him up 21-3. The Giants were still in the game at that point. It was 14-3. They could have stopped him there. Maybe they could have gotten down, gotten a score, made it 14-10. Who knows what might have happened? The fans booed relentlessly.
As expected, because you have a $40 million quarterback playing like he's a career backup. I'm going to relish in this moment because the amount of hate I've gotten over my Daniel Jones takes over the years, not adding him to my top 10 quarterback list to open up last year, and the repeated hate I get for Daniel Jones and my takes on him are going to make this topic very fascinating and very entertaining for me and anybody who's ever supported me. First of all, thank you for supporting my takes. So we can't blame the offensive line. We can't blame the receiver talent. We can't do it. Because Daniel Jones was actually garbage when not pressured. He was completely garbage. I don't know if this is the Sam Darnold versus the Patriots where he said he's seeing ghosts, but there were throws that could have been made that Daniel Jones was not seeing. Look at the film. Look at the All-22. You could see a lot of throws where Daniel Jones is looking for something, and there's a guy right in front of him, Malik Neighbors, Wan'Dale Robinson. There were a lot of plays where Wan'Dale Robinson got open, and Daniel Jones didn't even look his way. But we talk about that receiver core, right? Oh, yeah, they have Malik Neighbors now. What about the other receivers, though? Because they were there last year and weren't that great. Would you believe that this wide receiver core gave Daniel Jones the 4th highest average separation in the NFL for week 1 at 4.4 yards average separation? That's the 4th highest in the league for week 1. But Daniel Jones, even when they were down big, he kept dinking and dunking. We're bringing back the nickname Danny Dink and Dunk because that's all he did. He had 52% completion rate, 22 of 42. He was actually he was garbage in this game. There was no, the offensive line held up as best as it could against, some promising edge rusher. Dallas Turner also sort of terrorized some of the side. But I can't blame the offensive line because all the hate I got was, oh no, we got a reinforced offensive line. Jermaine Illuminor, Greg Van Roten, John Runyon, they're going to be great. John Michael Schmidt, again, center. He was the lowest graded center last year, but should be promising this year. And Andrew Thomas is always a top tackle in the NFL since emerging as one of the best. But in reality, Daniel Jones wasn't all that pressured. Really, he was not pressured that much. According to Next Gen Stats, first of all, he also was gifted one of the highest time to throws in the NFL. I'm trying to read it here. He had top 10 time to throw in the NFL for week 1. His QB pressure rate, one of the lowest. He wasn't even in the top 10 of pressure rates. And yet, Sam Darnold, by the way, was in the top 10. He was number 5 on the week. So Sam Darnold operated under pressure better. And by the way, I had a parlay on Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson did not do that much. He had a nice catch on the left side, but overall did not play that well. They got an interception off Sam Darnold in their own red zone and couldn't put up a touchdown. Daniel Jones had 3 open targets on 2 back-to-back plays and instead tucked it and ran it. So Brian Daboll picking up the coaching, the offensive play calling, that's going to get him fired. Daniel Jones starting is a mistake. That's going to get him fired. Joe Shane, he is now on a fiery seat because he let Saquon Barkley go. And my God, could you have used him? Devin Singletary, motor, the guy that they thought could replace Saquon and put up a similar production, was, I don't even think I want to say okay. He was passable, if you want to give him a passing grade. So you're a $40 million a year quarterback. Cannot have 52% completion percentage, 186 yards, no touchdowns, 2 what are you doing picks with a 44 passer rating.
Singletary had 10 carries for 37 yards.
3.7 yards in attempt.
Yeah.
You can't do it.
I'd say Daboll, he didn't do, we were beating up on Daniel Jones, and rightfully so, but it wasn't all him. Daboll didn't do Jones any favors in his first game as a full-time play caller. A painfully conservative sequence in the second quarter when Daboll called consecutive quarterback runs on 2nd and 5 and 3rd and 2 from midfield. Jones was stuffed for a 1-yard loss and on 3rd down carry, and then Daboll elected to punt on 4th and 3 from Minnesota's 49. That's just one example. The downfield passing attack, it's supposed to be the hallmark of their offense this year. Non-existent. Jones didn't attempt a single pass that traveled 20 yards or more in the air.
Him and Kirk Cousins only quarterback not to attempt a single deep
Jones
pass.
had 2 25-yard completions to rookie wide receiver Malik Neighbors on intermediate passes that included a few yards after the catch. The dynamic Neighbors limited to 66 yards on 5 receptions. So it's a pitiful effort by the Giants. Second year in a row where they weren't prepared to play for game 1. That's on the coach. To me, the Belichick watch has started.
I think maybe. That is definitely a possibility, but I think overall, I'm just saying what I've been told, what I've been criticized for now for 2 years. And by the way, this is crazy. I crunched some numbers. So the last time Daniel Jones played a full season was in 2022. Also, ironically, that's the season that people called him a top 10 quarterback. But there's a little bit of a caveat to it because that guy that they let go this offseason, yeah, he was the reason for it. Would you look at this? Completion percentage. These are where Daniel Jones ranks in these statistical categories. 90% of them, I would say, are relatively common. I'm not nitpicking that much. Completion percentage was 6th. Great. Passing yards, 17. Oh, by the way, let me preface this. These are games where Saquon Barkley rushed for 70 yards or more, which is in 10 games. It's not a small sample size, more than half the season. They went 8-2 in these games. So completion percentage, during that span, 67.9, that's 6th. Passing yards, he was 17th. Touchdowns, 20th. Average depth of target, dead last. 39 qualified quarterbacks, Daniel Jones was dead last, a.k.a. dinking and dunking. Passer rating, he was 10th. Time to throw, he had the 5th most. Interceptions, he had the 2nd fewest. His PFF grade, 8th highest. So good quarterback, right? But look at Saquon Barkley, because his impact was the reason why Daniel Jones played so well. Rushing yards, 1st. Rushing touchdowns, tied for 3rd. Explosive runs of 15 or more, tied for 1st with 15. First downs gained, he was 2nd. Explosive runs, which are qualified as 10-plus yards, he had 25 of them. That was 2nd in the league. Missed tackles forced, tied for 7th. Yards per attempt was 15th, but the reason why is because he had the most attempts. The production-wise, his same production was all 60 carries fewer at that same level. So the production level, the more carries you have, the likelihood, unless you're Derrick Henry, your yards per attempt is obviously going to go down. And finally, PFF grade, he was 8th. So to say that Daniel Jones, top 10 quarterback during that span, I'm saying no. Yeah, he looked like a top 10 quarterback because his running back had the most explosive runs in the NFL. Had the 3rd most touchdowns, had the most rushing yards.
Took a lot of pressure off him.
Absolutely. So I think the Giants are looking at themselves. And John Mara said he's going to have a lot of sleepless nights if they let Saquon go. I think he needs sleeping pills because he's probably been up since Sunday.
Yeah, I would think so after watching the way they played.
Actually,
on
probably
Sunday.
since Friday. And then, the realization really hit like, oh, Yeah, we made a massive mistake. Should have given him the extra $250,000 he was asking for.
Yeah.
He wanted to be a Giant. They got stingy. They said, you know what? Let's go with Devin Singletary.
He could be an MVP candidate this year, Barkley.
That might be pushing it. Running backs still win MVP.
You wait and see.
Running backs still win MVP.
3 touchdowns in a lot of games, and over 100 yards rushing, some nice pass catching. That will get you noticed. That's for sure.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, if you want to check out the full episode, make sure you click the I in the top right-hand corner right now. If you want to listen to this show anywhere you go, make sure you go to anchor.fm/The Harvey Hour or anywhere you get your podcasts.